Also, that we might worry about the right and plan that Jamie might be looking at the taking down my games in the jealous of and that might be that calculated begins, but even if because definitely while he meant the thing of that is that Robert might just go on and on. Think Robert might just go on and on about that how great about that skills and that all the achievements that Robert has that achieved so far, all thanks to that that same skills and strengthen those in along the lines that Robert might go on and on about it in front of Jamie back in the clipping of Nanny. And Robert might have been doing that for years, that for the great number of years, might be that kind of the case with him. So, probably on hearing, particularly hearing that might have affected all the years, might have affected him like Jamie feeling extremely jealous of like, and that might be like that to the case. Certainly, might go to the end of the like, even with like Jamie not having an interest in becoming like the hand of the king still steering. I thought it might be a fight to basically probe Robert, by battling against like Adam and for and dictating Adam in like that level. That way to that probe Robert Rock might be the town extreme separate the Sam on like Jamie might be like that because the case the belief might be the I guess the matter that even if you're right now, for like it was the young the thing for like the for things that the whole window of like the guy who gave 10 hours of black the finally next thing the scenario that was the thing so bringing literally Calvary and noticing that as that then is like not comfortable inviting the like guy who gave like the finally to like then this stand on the like the scenario that was the thing. So that Sandra was noticing that and that Sandra was getting encouraged at that point and let's try to get the right connection. At that point, I'm looking that Sandra was without even any warning that they believe straight away walking up towards that guy and that the love of that guy had taken that point is like doing the scenario to that for then also like absolute shock and horror like the emotionality that I'm the intention was the thing. And even only think for like in that the shadow lands of Answer like I'm looking for the queen of that shadow lands of Answer I'm looking for things for kind of thing like the different groups of people through like the what comes to the remembering is for like even doing like the symbols of like the fine then also most likely having some sort of like enough power connected to dragon might be like that with your pictures picture powers within connected to like might be like that to the is lower thing that power within that it might be according to that it may exist then actually putting in like the dragon the three dragon engine has it and basically simply I'm looking for actually like and then also like manage to like hide like the dragon from or like so might be that and then others might be and so at that point in like the like it's not kind of looking and definitely I'm looking the dragons throwing up and like the I'm looking like the dragon uh seeing then the like even so definitely I'm looking that the dragon that care so much about them and so that they eventually that was the like them finding some freedom through like the dragons and like the dragons what I'm saying integrity buying that freedom for like and still believe like the things are and like taking them to like the channel and as like and I'm going to bring like things up to the remembrance that my there was known as like the queen of the dragon from like the shadow lands of the side of that point on like the personality that I'm looking for really yes, so like the thing with the Indian right now is that like Jorah might be heavily indebted towards like that might be like that will get the case in American. So like that might have been some sort of like a half in like Jorah's life involving it as well like and that might have exactly saved the life of that Jorah of his like family in like such a part might have been that like the what might have happened is that meaning the brain like so like definitely Jorah if it might be named down heavily indebted to like at that time might actually want to like prevent the channel from making it to towards land and up and all for maybe that actually different ways like when so like Korean might be based on an extreme effect towards that and after certain things might be very and might be if they don't even really in depth towards that that might be that I could get the main on the fixable the play also my famous for that all the way back to the setting of mathematics is when I'm looking for like the law of that thinking about happiness like this now So the name of the project and basically for like to give that time and space to like adapt and to basically for like robot to give the hour to like adapt to become like the head of the thing. Might be along the line like adapt might and become the thing of that maybe along the lines of like what robot might have the so things and so the same thing and process like a while heading off to like tipping of landing and positive of like unfortunately along the way like either all of a sudden like it's starting to like snow. It's like one of the better things. Now one of the better things was like maybe like the way back like the way back might be the power might be from to like the wars maybe like the liberties but maybe I'm not going to be on their way back to the things and as a player the right one was like so nothing like that and more like think about kind of like and army like the scenario plan so like at that point I'm not thinking about one and like army taking on like the white robot while robot and only straight away shouting out to that Jamie to be like ensure to like get the queen as well as like some Joffrey like uh, like to safety to back to like thing of that in the going forward. To the and that like Robert will take care of that the white dog situation to the other organized like Robert in a like more confidence and like most likely like chain is like the scenario that is going to so at that point I'm talking about Tyrion badly might want to that stay with like Robert and that like the white work of major investigators might be the case that they but like I'm talking like Robert at that point shouting out to like Tyrion itself to like at least go along with like Jamie and make it back to like safely to like the king of planets that basically after letting down like the white work was that over the sea that to the end of the night and preparing that over like forcing to like leave us then starting to live. So like Robert and Robert and his two army of the different that went passing the of like white water and everything like the army of that over like quickly getting brought down by the white walkers and quickly like the loss of over that will happen by the white walkers like the canal and over the pictures that they are looking at that point and they are looking for like the queen trying to then force Jamie to become like the next king. But like before you bring that Jamie suddenly presuming like the question of like the king and basically at that point about different that for like the scenario to be like the queen and the king and like the realm as well as Joffrey might be within that location like the king standing while holding side of might be happening as like in the scenario. So like at that point I'm wondering a persuaded queen asking Jamie that basically not Jamie then post the realm like so theoretically, like the next thing to be along the lines and believing like a sarcastic manner, like the queen most likely asking Daniel that point to like the scenario that emerges. So like once like the name of that Tyrion will be mentioned, like at that point the from like Joffrey, Joffrey in Joffrey's mind like the idea to become like king and basically to get revenge so that like solely so that like Joffrey could like get revenge on like Tyrion for like the Joffrey to be along the lines like Joffrey given at that point hearing of that definitely one of the famous films. Definitely, I was wondering at that point, Joffrey looked like a strong way telling to that the queen that basically that Joffrey will become like the king that was now inside of the queen. So like at that point, I'm looking point that Jamie straight away telling like the queen that basically that Joffrey is the king that he should like the queen. So like that way, in an introduction manner, like I'm so different that queen I'm looking at that point feeling that like Joffrey is like far too young for like a king so that still you know that extremely awakened man like in dedicating us which is not of showing actual need zombie like the next king I think that way zombie becomes like the next king and like the moment zombie would be becoming like the next king at that point so like zombie up or around so trying to be most likely to put Tyrion in an kind of state like the scenario so like from that point on so they think that the suffering of like Tyrion by Joffrey to begin that one next in scenario. Kind of a very great. Great. And certainly after the like the moment Jack Joffrey will be given such an honor like the Queen of the thing. So the way to finish that like asking Joffrey to like what Joffrey is seriously doing to like at that point I'm probably the whole thought itself of like Joffrey saying after becoming like the king changing and basically Joffrey telling that the Queen that basically like the honor from that King Joffrey that basically absolutely known as like the right to lack of that to be along the lines and to be the tone that Joffrey at that point and like Joffrey trying to think like between through such strict stern tone that voice like the scenario that I'm looking and that's the And also on the second that point of like Joffrey to be feeling so frustrated with that setting is that the real fucking Joffrey that was me. Joffrey at that point after becoming like the thing stated also giving the point of that basically that Joffrey want exactly adapts to be with that hand of thing. It's also the slim of Bran and that as well might be solely connected to that job with Black Tyrion forcing Joffrey to that respect like Stark family that and that totally putting in Black Joffrey into taking it out one either that thing to start leader perspective like the start planning in front of like any person like career like to be around the lines like I'm notifying that so and for that purpose they don't like to wanting like adapt to be this like kind of a thing it's like getting into scenario that I'm going to bring and also the yes, so like being able to mention right now is that the twins like passed away for some as well might have happened to that find out about like the secret between that the twin and Jamie might have been like that just the days that we might go to the interesting right now. So yes, so like even the mention right now for like the twin will actually not great damage trying to consolidate that quite that like twin knows of some state way. And twin has heard of like some takers of the ingredient which might help that the head of wise of the that some in the like, current situation to be along the line some of the point like between saying that I would like so lead to that get and of like away from this like it's not that I'm so that way like during that like I'm point like that's why like to take that jumping up and basically going out stepping out of the room to like get to create the ingredient and at that point self was trying for like the twin making a move and like that not that adoption is like the scenario that I'm going to and from the thing for like in scenario to be that as like that's why it would be quickly would be with that would be the information for would be trying to like, create that complex ingredient that at point is when I'm going to find like for that's why like at that point like hearing and now train from like the twin and that point I'm going to find like the twin with like tears like it's shouting out of like the room and I'm going to be putting for that to be how the preparation to usually happen. So like the property that I'm considering for like between maybe bringing like some things to lecturing for like and that's why and basically the queen was like telling us like that like and that's why should not forget about like should need some kind of be especially in like the situation like the time situation like that he needs to stay strong and definitely he needs to like bring something and definitely definitely the queen giving that's why like bettering in which like the rain might have added something specific to make it seem natural as like to have that kind of white black ball of leaf and that's why at the same time like make it seem natural has the black and that's why fell asleep to being extremely tired of so they have put that way that the queen sitting at that white with leaf and just leave at that point like the queen making some move and like the lots of black and that's some happening and basically the twin so they put it as black basically after that giving that point by basically the twin has left and basically straight away to be around the lines and they bring like the twin after trading that whole scenario. There's like the other possibility that I need to very and consider. Also considering maybe for like a difficult scenario for like a dance like a young from like just like when you're ending up creating a shocking witness once like the twins would be making some more on like without some uh, and like once like that lot will be happening like the player would bring like for like consider like maybe a lot like them stop hello being like the soul witness to that but like at that point from being absolutely shocked extremely shocked and yeah on witness of that and basically that like that she are sitting in like some of even being able to like speak about it to like anyone from a while until eventually it's setting up like the courage and telling it up or like not about like she like the freedom like so in the scenario that I'm going to bring and right. Okay, so like the name of the building in the picture right now is that like the some snow that mother actual mother might not be alive, maybe like then the people from the big thing is when then last the culprit behind like the loss of that snow mother might be Robert might be like that way to be expected, but like it might have been that out there from a different standing for like an access that it might have been it might have been maybe Robert himself that might have got that the law of that not mind as in exactly the police department and in the past like Vancouver and United States even might have then adapt might have struggled even though adapt might have struggled still adapt might have forgiven so much might have been what might have happened that we might have forgiven. Yes, so like definitely what I'm right now that still the one that like Jorah season might be extremely in depth to that might be exactly the same that might have I love Jorah was of that and I love in the system but maybe like that to the base the things strange so like the game will bring without creative for like Jorah to steadily make that absolute prayer on the sort of and like the authority and like Jorah and all the thing was like he steadily sending a raven with like a to Interpol and to warn and aware that about like the incoming battle situation by the team of the fight and the town there like opportunity of reflecting scenario that so like the raven and the raven going up there with that and when the game is for relaxed and that's why reading that and basically being shocked and at that point and about the preparation program at that point itself for like a dark white straight away telling the son to that straight away they make it towards that without then really like people adapt about that the income in that situation and like well and they that way like adapt on like clearly make it inside to like adapt and after like at that point so that adapt and I think over time like in the army like straight away returning back to like when like scenario that but like I'm just before they will be making it to like when the film this thing like the Dothraki and like the Targaryen army, like making it to like benefit for just before benefit of not generation. So, and the name was different for like a dark white also same technique to the setting Raven to like the location of like the walls to that get that product as well as snow as well to bring them as well to the back to like the bottom for like the weapons that live in the enrich. Yeah, like I'm notifying like the army of the Targaryens as well as like the Dothraki like making it towards like clinical a bit before like bit before like snow and kind of that team would be able to like make it towards like the things that way like the soldiers with my department as like like and the like to be being defeated by like Calvary with his team with like knowledge and above it. So like if they understand at that point like it's like the family of like that will be that I would care and want to do it like at that point, so I'm praying for most likely until present and like and the like family like and praying like from like the world like then they make it towards like the local is like that under the world. So but they are praying at that point like certainly the better like strategically attempting to like start time for them like that would be able to like make it towards like the local place and that attempt to like start time like and like the lots of like the better things happening by like Calvado, or like the finance that is correct. And at that point, I'm not looking for like the law of like tensions happening, and I'm from that with an absolute shock of like snow and like an enraged law at that point, like straight away challenging Calvado's like the finance that is the thing. So at that point, I'm not looking that Calvado take deciding to take this time and that for that suffering to the next for like parents to like challenge child struggle like it's now terrible. So like that way like I'm just going to ask like snow being lovely for me again like child struggle and I will be like in a lot there is like by then when I'm still I'm probably like that still I'm probably looking for like snow marriage is like just barely by in time for like having like that and over to like make it towards like when the then so like at that point like when after that ensuing at that point sitting like the 2 hours like it's not that I'm looking at definitely I'm looking at that point for like the feel definitely taking advantage of that platform that to do it to like steadily sneak it to like to like towards like towards like brand activity that way at that point like I'm looking at like for that the white data to still be present to that brand fearing like the possibility of like the of like the party making it towards like it's not a benefit. So then at that point when I was putting like the three making stuff and still that one with like the smile and the at that point I was listening for like the long of for and then spice as well as like the family. And definitely I'm putting like by the time like the battle reviews or like I'm definitely putting for like the dark and forward and the family like managing like particular ways to like individual for anti-fit Caldrago and like the defeat Khal Drogo was like now that and different. So I believe the moment Khal Drogo would be defeated, like with the big form, like the army and like the society being like losing their battle morale, like and like deciding to like defeat for like the time being like but now them or retreating at that point. I don't like this understand they themselves from retreating like at that point it's like it's not kind of so like by the time that the battle or like and like at our hand that I'm good shot of like the situation with like the normal like and that's why and combines seconds and everything and everything and at that and everyone like straight away at that point assuming that basically uh the launch was through like the that against like the so fighting like the tsunami that so like and the one not really really like that and the beginning was to be only like the piece of that and the thing for that at that and today was the number anything like in an enterprise man and shop like finding out like the purpose behind like salon like fine just like it's like the scenario that is piece of now that over the direction okay, so like definitely my question Tyrion. So right now, so like Tyrion deep down might be an extreme coward, might be like that. Definitely my question to the embarrassment right because like Tyrion, while having what Tyrion might be doing as like that absolute boldness and guts to enforce the like version of that respectful behavior onto that future King Joffrey. At the very same, Tyrion might be extremely afraid, deep within him, like the very same Tyrion might be extremely afraid of like confronting, uh, confronting and showing that for like boldness again, like the Queen and like Jamie for like the things that that Tyrion is aware of that they have done. Certainly might be like the actually like the reason for like Tyrion still not confronting like the Queen and Jamie might be like the actual city certainly might have been the reason.